Right now, as you're reading this, your brain is generating 70,000 thoughts per day, but only one electromagnetic frequency is determining your entire reality. And it's not coming from your mind. Every successful person, every billionaire, every quantum physicist who's cracked the code knows this one thing that 99% of people completely miss. Your thoughts don't create reality, your nervous system does. And it's been sabotaging you through the one thing you do 20,000 times a day without even thinking about it. Your breath is literally encoding your future into the quantum field right now. But if you're like most people, you've been unconsciously breathing yourself into the same limited timeline for years, wondering why nothing ever changes. The universe doesn't respond to your wishes or your vision boards. It responds to your nervous system's electromagnetic signature, and that signature is written in your breathing pattern. Here's what's happening in your body right now that you're completely unaware of. Your autonomic nervous system is broadcasting a signal to the quantum field 24/7. That signal is either saying, I'm abundant, I'm whole, I'm worthy, or I'm lacking, I'm broken, I'm not enough. And that broadcast is happening through your breathing rhythm. Every shallow, anxious breath is literally telling the universe, I don't have enough, while every deep, coherent breath declares, I am complete. Most people are unknowingly breathing themselves into the same limited reality every single day. I want you to imagine something with me. Picture yourself as a radio, and every breath you take is adjusting your frequency dial. Most of us learn to breathe in a particular rhythm during times of stress or trauma, and we've been unconsciously tuning into that same station ever since. We wake up, take those familiar shallow breaths of morning anxiety, and without realizing it, we've just selected today's reality channel, the same one we listened to yesterday and the day before that. Here's what quantum physics is now confirming. There isn't just one reality unfolding around you. There are infinite parallel timelines, each vibrating at a different frequency, each containing a different version of your life. In one timeline, you're confident and abundant. In another, you're creative and free. In yet another, you're deeply loved and supported. These aren't fantasies or future possibilities. They're actual realities existing right now, just at frequencies your current breathing pattern can't access. Your nervous system acts like a quantum antenna through your breathing rhythm. Every inhale and exhale sends out a specific electromagnetic signature that tells the universe, this is the timeline I'm choosing to experience. When you breathe in that familiar pattern of worry, your body is essentially saying, give me more of the reality where I need to worry. When you hold your breath in anticipation of disappointment, you're selecting the timeline where disappointment is likely. The timeline trap is so subtle because breathing is automatic. We don't think about it, we just do it. But every unconscious breath is a vote for the reality we've always known, even if it's not the reality we want. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish between a past trauma and a current situation. It just responds to the breathing pattern you've trained it to recognize as normal. This is why so many intelligent, deserving people feel stuck despite trying everything. They're using their minds to reach for new realities, while their breath keeps them anchored to old ones. They're trying to manifest from their thoughts, while their nervous system is broadcasting a completely different message through their respiratory rhythm. For years, I believed what most of us have been taught, that manifestation was about getting my thoughts right, visualizing perfectly, and affirming with enough conviction. I spent countless mornings in meditation, crafting vision boards, and repeating mantras while my life remained frustratingly unchanged. I thought I wasn't trying hard enough, wasn't believing deeply enough, but I was missing the most fundamental piece of the puzzle. Your nervous system is the real conductor of your reality orchestra, and it responds to your breath faster than your brain can even form a thought. While you're carefully crafting positive affirmations, Your autonomic nervous system is reading the electromagnetic signature of your breathing pattern and making split-second decisions about which timeline to collapse into your experience. I would sit down to visualize abundance, breathing in that familiar shallow way that my body had learned during years of financial stress. My mind was painting beautiful pictures of prosperity, but my nervous system was receiving a very different message through my breath. Danger, scarcity, brace for impact. And guess which signal the quantum field was actually receiving? Not my carefully crafted visualization, but the distress signal coming through my respiratory system. Think of it this way. Your mind speaks one language, but the universe listens to another. Your thoughts might be saying, "I am worthy of love," while your breath is whispering, "I'm not safe to be seen." Your affirmations might declare, "Money flows to me easily," while your breathing pattern broadcasts, "Resources are scarce and I must fight for survival." The quantum field doesn't hear your words. It reads your energy signature written primarily in the rhythm and depth of your breath. This is why traditional manifestation techniques often feel like pushing a boulder uphill. You're trying to override millions of years of evolutionary programming with conscious thought alone. When your breathing pattern matches the frequency of stress, survival, or limitation, your nervous system dutifully creates more experiences that validate those states, regardless of what your mind is trying to manifest. Here's what changes everything. Your breathing pattern creates what scientists call an electromagnetic signature. This isn't metaphysical theory, it's measurable physics. Your heart rate variability, your brainwave patterns, your cellular voltage all shift based on how you breathe. When you breathe from anxiety, your entire being generates the electromagnetic frequency of lack. When you breathe from peace, you generate the electromagnetic frequency of abundance. Think of your breath as a radio transmitter constantly broadcasting to the quantum field. Stress breathing sends out a very specific signal. I don't have enough, I'm not safe, resources are limited. This signal doesn't just affect your mood, it literally programs your reality by telling the field which experiences to deliver. Most of us learned our breathing patterns during our most challenging times. Maybe you were 8 years old, listening to your parents fight about money, and your little nervous system learned to breathe in a way that said, "Money equals stress." Or perhaps you were a teenager facing rejection, and your breath learned to carry the frequency of, "I'm not enough." And these patterns became so automatic that now, decades later, even when you're consciously trying to manifest abundance or love, your breath is still broadcasting those old emergency signals. The quantum field doesn't judge these signals as good or bad. It simply responds with matching experiences. If your breath says scarcity, you get more situations that feel scarce. If your breath says unworthiness, you attract experiences that confirm unworthiness. The field is exquisitely calibrated to give you exactly what your electromagnetic signature is requesting, regardless of what your mind thinks it wants. Here's the breakthrough moment that changes everything. When you realize every conscious breath is you choosing which version of reality becomes real, and most people are choosing unconsciously. What quantum physics has shown us through the observer effect is profound. The act of conscious observation actually collapses infinite possibilities into a single experience. But you're not just observing with your thoughts, you're observing with your entire being. And your breath is the most powerful observation tool you have. Every time you take a conscious breath, you're essentially reaching into the quantum field and selecting which of the infinite parallel realities becomes your lived experience. When you breathe consciously from a place of peace, you're observing and therefore collapsing the timeline where peace is possible. When you breathe consciously from a place of abundance, you're selecting the reality where abundance flows naturally. The science behind this is fascinating. When you breathe consciously, you're literally changing your brainwave patterns, your heart rate variability, and your electromagnetic field. These changes don't just affect you, they affect how the quantum field responds to you. You become a different observer, and therefore you collapse different possibilities. Here's how you make the ultimate shift. Stop forcing your breath and start breathing from the version of you that already has everything. The moment you stop trying to override your frequency and start embodying it, that's when the quantum field stops resisting and starts rearranging reality around your new frequency. The key insight is this: the quantum field doesn't respond to effort, it responds to authenticity. When you force your breath, the field senses the underlying tension and continues to mirror back struggle. But when you breathe authentically as your future self, the field recognizes the coherent signal and begins to rearrange reality to match that frequency. Start by connecting with your future self, not as a fantasy, but as a very real aspect of who you are. This version of you already exists in the quantum field. They're not stressed about money because they live in abundance. They're not anxious about love because they're deeply cherished. Take a moment and feel into that version of yourself. What does their energy feel like in your body? How do they hold themselves? What's the quality of their presence? Now, without forcing anything, allow your breath to naturally express their state of being. Notice how they breathe. Is it deeper, slower, more relaxed? Let your body remember this rhythm. This is not a technique you do once. This is a way of being you gradually embody throughout your day. Whenever you remember, gently ask yourself, how would my future self breathe in this moment? The beautiful paradox is that the more you stop trying to force change and start embodying the change, the faster the external world responds. You're no longer broadcasting mixed signals. You're speaking the clear, coherent language that the quantum field understands and cooperates with. Remember, your breath is literally your bridge between dimensions. Stop trying to think your way into abundance while breathing from limitation. Instead, breathe as the version of yourself who already lives in the reality you desire. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you breathe. Your breathing pattern is your electromagnetic signature. And when you breathe from your future self's identity, the quantum field stops resisting and starts cooperating. You are not waiting for your life to change. You are breathing yourself into the version of reality where it already has. This is your moment-to-moment practice. Every conscious breath is an opportunity to select a different timeline. Take 3 conscious breaths right now as your future self. Feel the electromagnetic shift. Notice how the field responds. Your new timeline begins with your next breath.